Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of season 4 of the Emmerance podcast, and I'm your host, Emmerance Victoria. Last week we talked about my hospital journey. I shared how hard it was and the realization that I had, and that's literally what led me to come back to my podcast to create this business and take it more seriously, because my spirit was like, Vicky, people are looking for answers, and it looks like you can assist, okay? So I'm here because the last 3 seasons of the Emmerance podcast were very lukewarm, and we're going to talk about lukewarm, neutral. Do you know what is being lukewarm? Not being hot nor cold, not picking a side. Basically, in Revelation, there's a book of Revelation, I think it's Revelation 3:14-22, where Jesus talks to churches, right? There's different churches, and there's this particular church that embraced sin, but also glorified God. And Jesus was like, because you're nor hot nor cold, you glorify both, I will rebuke you, I will spit you out. But with that, he's telling you that with that love, he will, like, once you understand that, you really have to be picking a side, then you can get in the gates of heaven. We're going to talk about the details of those things later, because I really love the book, the Apocalypse or Revelation book. I really love it because it's kind of describing the world that we live in, where we are right now, and I believe you will get more insight if you just read that book. But a lot of us are Christian, right? A lot of us are Christian. I'm not Christian, but I have to come here and use the Bible because I grew up Christian, and that's the only book that's closest to me when it comes to spirituality. So I don't really use the Bible as like a Bible, like, oh, this is an order. I use it as a research. I use it as something that I'm looking into, and I interpret it in my own way. Everything that I'm saying, I want you to go and look it up. Okay? You have to have this habit of knowing your own self. All of this happened, all of this started just because I wanted to know myself. I wanted to know my own story. I did not like the fact that people were telling me how Africa looked or who we were. I really wanted to look for myself and check, verify for myself, right? And with everything that I discovered, I'm like, it just makes sense. It makes sense that Jesus tells a church that you're nor hot or cold, I'm going to rebuke you. And so last episode, I encourage you guys to review your life. Review and look at this life that you created and tell yourself, okay, how did I get here? What belief made me come here? And why isn't it that I'm far? Why is it that I'm here? Just here? Or why is it that when I try things, I'm always stressed and all of those things, like those questions, right? And also last episode, I told you guys that 90% of you is God, 90% of you is your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind resides on your right brain. I just love it because, yeah, because nothing, like, you cannot live without your right or your left brain. But many times we only use our left brains. Most of the time we want to use logic, we want to use our physical strength and stuff like that, because we believe that's all we need, because you're only able to see it, you're only able to go with what you see, and you have to believe what you see. But even the Bible tells you that you shouldn't just believe what you see, you should also believe what you don't see. Right? Okay, so let's go back to the subconscious mind. In the first 3 seasons of the Emmerance podcast, I shared a lot of things, and I said that it was lukewarm because I was just like trying to make you feel better, basically. But now I am not. I don't care if you like what I say or not. I don't care. All I want is for someone out there to listen to my message, because I also know that someone out there is trying to look for the truth. Someone out there is trying to figure out how to live their life better. And I also believe that it is only your birthright to do that, right? If you let yourself accept your reality and say that you don't have any power over it, based on the subconscious mind, who is 90% of you, takes that seriously. The subconscious mind actually cannot differentiate between negativity or positivity. So anything that you do or say comes true in a way. Certain times it can be very fast, certain times you can live with it, like sickness. When you say, "How are you?" You say, "I'm sick." Basically, when people ask you, how are you, you should say, "I'm recovering, I'm feeling better, I'm doing my best." Something like that. You choose anything, just don't be negative. Like if someone talks about money and you start being like, "Oh, money, if you're rich, people are like this and like that," you are not inviting that abundance into your life, because your subconscious mind thinks that it's a bad thing. If you did what I asked you to do in the last episode, you analyze your life for the week and you realize that, okay, my limiting beliefs, the way I've been living my life, not being nice to people or preferred to love others and my own family, like my sisters, I just don't care. I'm not even talking to them, not even talking to none of my family members, but you praise other people. Like if a sibling comes and asks you for money, you wouldn't do it. But if another person outside of your family asks you for money, you would send it. That is not good. The end of neutrality. In this podcast episode, I'm just telling you to stop. Stop being neutral. Stop mixing your words. Stop thinking that you will get what you want by being lukewarm or neutral. Now, this is the biggest sin that I believe this world has become, right? When you go to school, when you go to daycare, when you go like pretty much everywhere, even at church, basically it starts in church, right? Because they taught you to be pious, or maybe not pious, I'm not even saying it right. They taught you to be like Jesus. But the part of which they want you to be like Jesus is to suffer for others. We don't, especially in Canada, we don't like bothering. We don't like, excuse me, I'm sorry. We don't like taking space. All right? And we feel like that's the answer. We don't want to hurt people, so we don't give boundaries. We don't want to offend certain persons, so we limit ourselves in our actions and stuff. There's just so many things that we end up doing that is absolutely unhealthy, because that is being lukewarm. When you cannot give boundaries, or you cannot voice yourself of what you want, you only leave hatred in your heart. When you tell someone that you don't appreciate something and the person keeps doing it, and you're like, "Oh, you know what, I'll figure it out, like I'll talk to them and they'll figure it out and we'll be fine." But then the person keeps doing that, like there's no stops, but it hurts you, right? It still hurts you, because you know that you don't like that. You know you've been repeating yourself and that person just don't do it. So for me, just being a good person, just suffering for other people, I don't think that's the answer, because it only leaves me in a negative place. So the good thing about all of this is to choose to always be positive, to always look at the right side. It's so crazy now that I'm talking about it, because I shared how your subconscious mind is literally the right side of your brain, and the spirit reside on that right side of the brain, which is the creativity, intuition, and all that resides on the right side of your brain. And you always want to be right. Wild. I love words, because when you like talk and you're like, right side of the brain, right, it's always like that. Most people are right-handed. Very interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm literally discovering something new as I'm talking to you. But it has something to do with what I'm saying. You have to literally understand that everything that you give attention to, right? Even if it's negative or positive, your subconscious mind takes it, right? So as your subconscious mind takes it, it gives you back that information as a manifestation. Okay, for example, you have been through like a lot, right? And all your life, you were told that it's dangerous to walk outside at night, right? It's dangerous because if you walk outside at night, there's going to be a monster that would eat you or something like that. Or not even a monster. Let me be more realistic. Don't go out at night because there are people that would hurt you and things like that, right? So that's what you've been told. Now, that's what you believe, right? And unfortunately, as you're leaving, going outside at night, you will eventually get hurt by some people. Does that make sense? Because that's how life is. If you did not spend some time analyzing your life and thinking, okay, what are the thoughts that made me become who I am? You know, give yourself some credits for the good and the bad things that you manifested in your life. Because when, like, there's even these videos that I see on YouTube where people are like living as an ugly person. Like, okay, is that really what you want? Or is that like something that you want just people that feel ugly to relate? But then at the same time, I'm hoping that you're empowering them because nobody in this world is ugly. Nobody. There's no ugliness. It's only the perception of someone else that's making you call a certain person ugly. Does that make sense? You were not born to even differentiate between race, okay? If you look at kids, kids don't care about those things. Like I said, kids are closer to their spirit, to their highest self than we are, but we are very more materialistic and stuck with this physical world. And the sad part about all this is the kids now are getting into this physical world pretty quickly with the iPads and stuff like that. That does not really give them information to develop this brain to become a better person. And when I say a better person, I'm not talking about just like die for other people or suffer for other people, because when you're doing that, you're literally hurting yourself. A lot of us, and that is something that I still don't understand, a lot of us, especially people with my skin tone, we like to be nice because we were told in the Bible and things like that that you have to be nice. But aside of me, it's just like, guys, you really cannot just be nice all the time. Even and that's what leads to people pleasing. That's what leads to always wanting to be right, always wanting to, have the good answer, the right answer. But if you understand life, especially if you've been working and not studying, you're not like caged in a place where you're just listening to a teacher, but you're actually actively doing things and you want to go out and create a community or have a community. If you are in this stage of your life, you'll understand that a lot of times life, there's no right or wrong. Like life itself, it's crazy because I just told you your subconscious mind, your spirit is 90% you. And so that 90% of you is your subconscious mind. Now, when we do talk, your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between right or wrong, right? So if we remove any human involvement, that's why I'm saying, like, if you're at a stage where you're no longer at school and you're just working, you will understand that people pleasing continue to work. Like when you're working, you have this thing where I always have to be right. I always have to bring good results. I have to be efficient. I have to always be this positive person. And if you look at when you're outside of work, you can do whatever you want. Of course, there's laws in where you live, but again, if we remove the human involvement, so no laws, nothing that like, those regulations or things that you have to follow to be a good citizen, there's no right or wrong answers, right? Someone can kill for a good reason and someone can kill for a bad reason. Someone can do good things for bad reasons and someone can do good things for good reasons. So It's all part of it. It's all part of this whole thing where you start to believe that you need to be suffering for others. I want you to understand that no matter what you do, okay, no matter what you do in your life, you have to understand that your subconscious mind is always involved. You know, there are a lot of people that tries to ignore it, but when you do ignore it, the person that knows how your subconscious mind works will use it, and you will, be left with nothing. And the example that I gave you last episode was how we all work for someone, and the work that we do is a belief. And so when we believe in that, we make that company survive because we believe in that company, right? So we are giving that power, the good work, the sacrifice that we have over time and stuff like that, we give it to the company. And that's where they are getting more and more richer. And we just stay like, okay, so now robots are taking over. So that's literally how life is. And I want you guys to understand this because it is important. In the next few episodes, I want you to think outside the box. Think about how your actions is hurting others and how your actions are helping others, how your actions are hurting your life, yourself, your children, your family, and how you are actually not aware of this. Like some of us like can be aware of, okay, when I have to speak to myself nice, and I have to do all of this, I have to work out, I have to focus on this healthy body, but we really don't know why. And that's the sad part. Like when you don't know why you do stuff, you just don't do it. That's why in my like this first 3 seasons, I shared about physical health and how important it was, but I never told you that. Actually, I told you that physical health has to be a lifestyle. You cannot just do a diet today and then go back to your old habits. Isn't this the same thing? Literally, Jesus in Revelation tells us that if you're nor hot or cold, he will rebuke you. And I feel like this is just an opportunity for us to reflect on ourselves, to reflect on the actions that we create, the stuff that we're doing in everyday's life, laughing at people, gossiping. And when it comes to gossip, for me, I feel like gossip, yes, it's sharing information, but it shouldn't be negative. Like if you want to gossip because you want probably to resolve a problem, or you want to discuss like a case study, but not in a way that's like, ha ha ha, that so and so did that, oh my gosh, they're bum. Because listen, baby, listen, whatever you're saying, it just literally goes back to you. Your subconscious mind, and especially this world, the word that we use, the power of the word. The Bible also tells us about that your words are powerful, that you can curse or you can bless with your words. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Okay, because these are just my theories, how I understand life, and I'm giving you these information little by little because I believe that we are at an era where we need to get back to the source. We need to get back to trusting ourselves, not just trusting ourselves because we want to get a better body, we want to, have a career, or all of those things, physical stuff are gonna be gone, right? So we want to make sure that the knowledge that we have is the right one, so that when you walk on this earth, you're walking the right way. It's crazy. I don't understand. Like, I mean, honestly, I get it. A lot of us, we grew in this, religion, and religion only tells us that God is outside of us, right? And so a lot of us only do good things in the eyes of others. And that's the influence it gives us with that lie that God is outside of us, because he's not. And he also exists, and it's not a he or a she. It's literally just a spirit. All right? You cannot see it with these eyes because he's not here on earth. Literally, because he is a spirit. You cannot see that. but I'm gonna teach you how you can. If you come and talk to me, I would. But right now, the danger of neutrality is the fact that you will never be at peace. That's the danger. The danger is you will always confuse your life. You want a house, but you can only limit yourself to an apartment because you think that your income and all that will only give you an apartment. You know, you look at the news and it's suddenly making you feel a certain way, and now you're shouting at someone else. All of these things, or even, oh, before I let you go, I have to talk about this. Basically, when we talk about religion, all of our religion, we pray. We pray for this to this God, right? But you know that praying is a manifestation, right? And a lot of people say that like it's a manifestation and stuff like that, but at the same time, it is witchcraft. It is changing the reality or getting the results that you want. So when you pray, all right, you're not praying to a God outside. You should be commanding. You shouldn't be asking. You should be commanding, because you're commanding your own highest self to give you what you want. And that's why, if it wasn't ask, bro, if it wasn't ask, you would have been like, can I do this? And you would have heard an answer. A command is, I command you. You're ugly. You're stupid. You're beautiful. It gets back to me because it's a command. All right. When you do and say things like that, you have to get back into your words and be like, okay, I did not mean that. Okay, I call my spirit infinite spirit. So I'll be like, infinite spirit, I did not mean that. Or I tell the person like, oh, sorry. And honestly, I don't even think I say it anymore. But if you do, those are the things that you can start practicing, right? Just don't say anything if you know you have a mouth that literally curses your life. And by that, I mean a mouth that is just there to belittle others, to do bad things, to say bad things, to curse. You know, those are the things that don't add anything in your life, right? It only adds, actually, it doesn't add anything positive in your life. It only adds negativity in your life. And if you are wondering why your life is the way it is, it's because you let it happen. You're the source, and Jesus warned us about it. You cannot go to church one Sunday, and even at church, people start gossiping and laughing at others. So what is it that we're doing? It's like even more dangerous to be in a group than to be by yourself. But no, even if I say that self first isn't selfish, my goal is for us all to live in harmony. That is my goal. All right. So download the asset manual if you're ready to do the work. It's there to help you. So next episode, I'm going to give you more information on how you can take charge of your life so that we can start being more positive, live in love and not negativity, so we can attract positive things. All right. So that's going to be the next episode. And for now, I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful week. Okay. But remember, self first isn't selfish. Bye bye.